Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. Back-to-back nights here live on the channels. Of course, we stream live every Wednesday at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But tonight is a very special show. Lots of work has gone into this, not just by us, but our friends, our fellow content creators. Looking forward to the 53-man roster breakdown. This is the second one we've done. The full 53-man roster gets cut down tomorrow for the NFL. But we get together today and we bring you the 53-man roster early. Stoner, you've seen all the videos. You've made some special, graphics and everything for this. How excited are you right now?
I'm pretty excited. I like what some people did with their selections. There are some surprises in there, but it was definitely well thought out. It wasn't one of those things where guys were just like, hey, whatever, this guy, and this guy. They were well thought out, and there are going to be some surprises. And what we have decided is that we didn't tell everybody what they were limited to in the number of guys they can put at each position. So, for example, with the quarterbacks, Rio from Rambling About Washington, or is that
Rambling with Rio?
Rambling with Rio. That's right. He rebranded. Sorry, Rio. Rambling with Rio had the quarterbacks. We didn't tell him he had to keep two, or he had to keep three, or four, whatever. He decided. So that means that when it comes down to the end, however many guys that everybody selected in total, we will decide who gets cut to bring it all the way down to 53 if needed.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, if you're watching right now, we got Grayson in the chat. Greetings, sir. Could you just go ahead in the chat? Let us know what you think would be a surprise cut for the Washington Commanders. Stoner says that there's a couple in here. I'm looking forward to seeing what those are. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to also like this video, subscribe to the channel. We have videos of people coming in, giving us the content, but there was one particular group that we're going to bring in live right now. I'm going to kick things off with special teams. And so for special teams, it might seem a little bit easy, but I think some people have been getting a little bit worried about the kicking, and the punting hasn't quite been there either. And so we have Deacon from the OGs coming in on here. There we go. We're going to get rid of that, Brandon. Welcome, Deacon. How you doing, sir?
What's happening? What's happening, fellas?
What's up?
Hey, listen, I know you might want to go back and cut some people, but you ain't going to be cutting none of my people. I'm going to let you know right now. I'm going to keep it short. I ain't going through a whole bunch of stuff because you know that the special teams gets the leftovers.
Yeah.
Leftovers go on special teams. You're lucky to be on the team. Get down there and find the ball. That's all you got to do.
There you go.
But for us, listen, I know it's been a little tricky this preseason, but that's what preseason's for. Get the kinks out. So don't worry about it.
So are you gonna actually like go beyond the three special teamers that normally you do?
I might give you four.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Starting off spicy.
I tell you what, because you're coming on live, the graphic that I built was pretty generic. I just assumed that it was going to be three, the three folks. So this graphic may be wrong. I may have to rebuild.
Hey, you may be right. I might cut it my losses. That's how it goes. So listen, as far as special teams goes, we know who the special are. Okay, you got Joey Sly.
Yeah.
And he's a sly devil, so you got to watch him. I know everybody getting up in arms because he missed a couple field goals, extra points, or whatever. But that's he's just playing around.
He's just playing
trying to keep some interest in the game. So Joey Sly ain't going nowhere.
So you're good with him.
I'm good with Joey Sly.
All right.
Until he misses his first field goal in the regular season.
And then he's gone. Gotta get rid of him then.
Quick over here with the snap. Then you got your boy, Tress Way, who you can't deny that he is the number one kicker in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And dude got a leg, and he's consistent. Right? So, and you talk about changing field position. Hey, listen, that's one of your best weapons right there. Because we're going to be going 3 and out. We're going to have a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
So, you got to have a man who can put some foot in the ball.
Yeah,
But
flip
the most
script.
important out of both of those two, the Holy Trinity, who makes up the Holy Trinity, is Cameron Cheeseman.
All right.
Listen, anytime you draft a long snapper,
yeah,
you got to have something.
Yeah.
Am I right? So George
and I believe they traded up to draft him.
They traded up
like the 5th round or whatever it was.
They sure did. So Mr. Provolone himself is going to be all right.
Why provolone? Why provolone?
Provolone's a solid cheese, man.
What you want, American cheese?
No.
Nigga, special.
Good old fashioned, seriously sharp cheddar. That's my choice.
Come on. Stop.
Just gonna go with the baked brie, Deacon.
Yep.
With a little peach dressing on top.
All that. The one thing that we did see that we didn't anticipate this year, well, some of us didn't. I figured he had pictures of the coach somewhere or something. We lost Trapke, which was one of our gunners. He was, if special teams was his thing, he couldn't check nobody.
Yeah.
As my boy Trey Z put it, he is the NFL films guy. Or he's always following the touchdown.
Yeah.
So,
put a camera in his hand. He'll get you a good view.
So we lost him, which nobody's crying about. But what I'm excited to see, I was anyway until we got the news today or yesterday about Brian Robinson getting hurt. God bless him. Hope he comes back full strength. Was AG being back there, Antonio Gibson, running back some kicks. But I don't think now you put your number one guy back there to run back kicks.
Yeah.
So what I want to see, and which we haven't seen yet, because I'm not really excited about Dax Mill being back there because he doesn't really do it for me as far as a punt return or a kick return. I haven't seen him really break anything. What I want to see is the water bug back there. Put Jared Patterson back there and see what he got.
Interesting.
All right.
You're not going to be playing.
He's going to be happy to hear that.
Hey, listen, you're not going to be playing him much in the backfield because he's the 4th running back right now. So if you got to keep it extra, which you might as well now that you lost one to a pup, put him back there. He did it in college.
No Erickson, no love for Erickson as a specialty guy.
I don't know if Erickson's going to be on the team. He might be on the practice squad. So what I want to see is the water bug get his game. That's all I'm saying. Put him back there and let him run around and see. Because if you can't see somebody, how you going to tackle him? Right?
That's fair.
I hear you.
Little guy, he's definitely going to be able to squirt through those holes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, thank you, Deacon, for joining us here and giving us your special teams take. We do have the graphics. Stoner's got it accurate for the pick. I don't know if you wanted to throw it up there or not.
Yeah,
Stoner.
I'll just throw it up there real quick. Yeah.
Deacon, why don't you hit us with where our fans can watch you at?
And OG, the DMV show, we come on once a week. We try not to do too much at one time. We're kind of old, so it takes us a minute to get going. But the OG is on the YouTube. We got the Facebook as well. So holler at us.
Yeah,
we just out here having fun with everybody. That's all.
Yeah, catch the OGs. They're a lot of fun. I love the work that you guys put into your videos and all the splashes that you guys do throughout the show. Lots of fun. This is Deacon, one of the OGs of the DMV. Be sure to check them out on their channel here on YouTube. Thank you, Deacon, for joining with us. Yeah, we have to give you that round of applause there.
Right on. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
We're going to keep this thing moving. Make sure, again, if you're watching, we got a few more listeners here. Make sure you let us know who you think will be a surprise cut here with the Washington Commanders. Stoner says we've got a few coming.
Got a couple.
And that one, that's kind of making my brain kind of work. Who are we going to see? Sticking with there. John Greaves, thanks for jumping in here. He says his first time watching us. I agree with Deacon about Jared on returns. He's shifty and has good hands and good vision. Jared might make the team right now, especially with B-Rob. We are happy to hear that he is recovering. He posted on his own IG, surgery's going well. So we're happy to hear that. We did talk a little bit about it yesterday on our day after reckoning, and we'll hope to have good news tomorrow or not tomorrow, but Wednesday during our show. So we'll see. Let's keep this moving, though. We're going to be going to the most important position on the team, the QBs, who we've got with Rio.
All right, give me 1 second to bring that up.
Now the question for our listeners, do you think that Rio's going to take 3 QBs, or do you think Sam Howell has done enough to make this just a 2 QB team?
All right, here we go.
What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson from the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, and I've been summoned by Ref the District. Shout out to my guy Nate Stoner and Trev to take care of the quarterback position. They gave me the biggest layup on the roster for this year's 53-man projection. So I'm gonna just lay it up. I'm gonna take it right off the backboard and slam dunk it. There is no questions asked. The starter, the clear-cut guy, face of the organization right now is Mr. Carson Wentz, number 11. The backup quarterback, while most of us agree that the better prospect, higher upside guy is the rookie we took with the 144th pick of the draft, Sam Howell. For now, Taylor Heinicke has to be the backup quarterback because he has the game experience. Trust me, I want Howell to jump into this spot immediately, but he's not there yet. Let that man sit in the slow cooker, marinate, and when it's his time to cook, he will take that position, and hopefully he's the future of the franchise one day. So Taylor Heinicke, right now, you are the backup quarterback. You are our emergency situation in case for some reason Wentz has to not play, but I'm going to knock on wood because I don't even want to put that into existence. And I also have no interest in watching Taylor Heinicke start a football game ever again. So we're keeping 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Third string, high upside guy, Heinicke size, Wentz's arm, gets the ball out in a hurry, not a raw prospect, not mechanically deficient, Sam Howell. Third string, but not for long. That's your quarterback room. You're not keeping 2. They're going to keep 3. Howell's going to dress every week. It's that simple. Thank you to Ref the District. Shout out to all of the Washington content creator community. Rio out.
All right. Great video there from Rio. I don't think that's too surprising to see. I think a lot of people have this team taking the 3 QBs in that order.
Let me put this up there.
We'll take that branding off then again.
Yep.
I think everyone has that order as well. Rio's spot on. Wentz is the clear-cut starter. Heinicke is going to stay QB2 for that experience coming in for emergency. Now, my question, Stoner, is Taylor Heinicke's that emergency QB, but do you see 2 things that he said to this? One is Sam Howell is dressing every week. Do you think that's the case?
Yes, because I believe there is that special roster exemption that if you dress a third quarterback, then you can have that extra player instead of 46. I believe you can have 47 if that 47th is a quarterback. I believe that's the rule. Don't quote me on it. So yeah, I think he will probably dress, but either way, I don't think it matters. He's probably not going to play. Right? When's the last time in a game a team has had to go to a third quarterback? Yeah. Obviously, during
knock on some wood, that's not going to happen this year for Washington. Yeah. Now, the other aspect to that is, do you think, obviously Taylor Heinicke being the backup quarterback, do you think there is a scenario where Sam Howell comes in that the team is not necessarily in dire straits? Because that's what we have talked about is if Sam Howell sees the field, this season's gone horribly wrong.
Correct.
Is there ever a scenario that you can picture that Sam Howell comes into play, maybe starts a game, but Washington isn't in dire straits?
No, I cannot see that happening at all. I don't know how that could possibly come into play at all. I mean, what are we talking about here? If Sam Howell sees the field, as you said, you're in dire straits. There's no two ways about it. If for whatever reason, if it's mop-up duty, if it's your main guy gets hurt, if Carson gets hurt, again, knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, or anything, you're always going to bring in Taylor because he's your number 2. And if you have to go to a guy, you want to go to the guy who you're probably going to have to go to the next game if he's going to start the next game, right? So you don't want to bring him in cold. You want him to get those reps in that mop-up duty type situation so that the next game he's not coming in cold. I just don't see it. I mean, do you ever see a situation other than catastrophe?
If we're talking way late into the season and not that Heineke hasn't been doing anything, but rather Howell has been steadily improving during the season, at practice, where they feel he might be the better, option to win a game because the fact that he keeps the playbook open. I can see Heineke doing the emergency fill in case Wentz has to leave the game for whatever reason. And then the next game, Howell starting because again, he keeps that playbook open. I think that's like a 0.0001 chance of happening.
Yeah.
But that's something I think I can see. Okay. We did have, you showed it there from Command This, they, blown out, getting Sam some play. We'll see. I was thinking of a situation where it's not a bad situation. It's more of a, we're going to start Sam Howell for good reasons. We'll see. Obviously it's not going to be too good if you have to miss your starting QB there. Let's keep this moving on to running backs. I've only seen one, surprise cut so far in the chat. Please go ahead and put in your surprise cuts here. I'll list them as I can see them. But so far, right now, we have EP's the only one who said a surprise cut. She thinks Reeves will get cut.
Okay.
Reeves is somebody who we talked about being potentially making this team based off of his play this preseason. We'll see if he's going to get cut. But right now we're going to move on to the running backs.
Yeah.
Obviously, this situation has changed a little bit with Brian Robinson's injury. Some of the things that they're saying right now is that he could go on the non-football injury list, which would make him miss 4 games. Mm-hmm. The team has not made that decision. Ron has come out and said that they're going to work with the doctors, see what position they're in. So, because he might not need to miss the full 4 games. First and foremost, again, we want to talk about his health. We want him to get back healthy as a human being.
Yep,
football is very much secondary in this. And it seems the team is taking that approach as well, which is good to see.
Yeah. But also we talk football as well. And we're talking roster spots. So we're going to talk about how it affects the roster spots. It's not a disrespect to him and his situation. It's just kind of a reality in what we're talking about right now.
That's right.
And this video for running backs literally came in about an hour before the news broke. So that's how the timing was kind of messed up a little bit. But this is Big Doug from the Big Douglas Show. You can check him out everywhere that you would watch your videos or listen to audio podcasts.
All right, what up, Commanders fans? I'm here representing the Big Douglas Show. Appreciate the Ref the District guys for having me on again this year. Last year I did tight ends. This year we're doing the running back room. Very interesting this year. I went back and forth, keeping a 4th running back. I just don't see it happening. I think they've got tight ends they like and wide receivers they want to keep. So I think this year we'll see Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and the rookie Brian Robinson, and probably Patterson to the practice squad. Probably a couple of them to the practice squad. Antonio Gibson, I know people have been wondering what his role will be. Yes, I think he'll be great at returning kicks, much like he was in college. I also still think he'll be the feature back for the Commanders. I think Brian Robinson will get the 70 carries that Jarrett Patterson had last year. I think they'll knock some of the 220 carries down for Antonio Gibson and give them to Brian Robinson. So I really do think you'll see a 3-headed monster this year. Hopefully Antonio Gibson will be used out in space more like we thought he'd been doing for the last couple of years. They didn't. That was on them. I think it was a mistake, but hopefully they'll right the ship this year and do that. I still believe J.D. McKissick is one of the best third down backs in the league and probably could run a little bit more between the tackles if they wanted to. On to the rookie. I think Brian Robinson has a lot of upside. I think he's here for a reason. I think he catches the ball better than people realize and will be extremely productive. Also, it should make Antonio Gibson more productive. The fact that he's not going to have to be used as a back that's pounded between the tackles 180 times or however many times they asked him to go up the gut last year. And so this should be good. The three-headed monster, I think, is what more and more NFL teams are using. And it should allow for more productivity. So, again, thank you to the Rep the District guys for asking me to participate again this year. And that's what I got. 3 running backs, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, and J.D. McKissick. All right, there you go. I hope to have a good year this year. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Big Doug, for jumping in and giving us those the running backs takes. Now, he's kind of on board with what I've been saying, which is Antonio Gibson's going to still be the most productive of the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I do love these 3. I really think that this is a solid group of NFL running backs. You got the dynamic players in Gibson and McKissick. You've got a quality running back who they took in the 3rd round, who you and I thought that was the most disappointing pick just, back in April. Mm-hmm. But now we do think Brian Robinson's going to steal, quite a few bit of carries because of just how productive that he can be.
Yeah. Well, I think, let's talk about then the implications now that Brian Robinson is out. Okay. We don't know how long, but let's just assume he's going to be out for just say 4 games. I think it's going to be longer, whatever. We have no idea. But what does that do to that roster spot? Does that move Jonathan Williams into that 3rd spot? Or does that move Jarrett Patterson into that 3rd spot? Or do they go out on the waiver wire and find somebody? Peyton Barber's still out there, I believe, and he doesn't have a job. Or look, Reggie Bonifant is on this team right now, so it could be him. I doubt it, but so that's the question then. Who is it going to be now? Let's just say, assuming that that Brian Robinson's going to be out for 4 games. Who's going to be that 3rd running back? Who do you think it's going to be?
I not just because my wife wouldn't let me sleep inside, but also because I like Jarrett Patterson. I think that Jarrett Patterson's that 4th running back. I do agree, really? Gus Bus, with Jonathan Williams being the favorite for those short yardage. You saw that very much in those first couple preseason games where, if it was 3rd and 1, they gave the ball to Jonathan Williams, not Brian Robinson, not Gibson, not McKissick. They gave it to Jonathan Williams. So I do think he probably edges out because you have a 1 and 2 punch there with Gibson and McKissick, where you have, some dynamic running and you're just looking for a guy just to plug a hole. So Jonathan Williams makes it for that. But personally, I would go with Patterson. Okay. How about you, Stoner?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Williams is going to get that 3rd spot / 4th spot, however you want to look at it at this point. Jarrett Patterson is fine. Jarrett Patterson can do some things. There's a lot of things he can't do, but he does have that ability to return kicks, all that stuff. But I just don't think it's enough based on what's in front of him. He's obviously got a better chance today than he did yesterday, but we'll see. And if he wants to stay with this organization, I think he's definitely a guy that they would put on their practice squad.
Yep.
Assuming he wants to stay. He's a 2nd-year guy, so he falls into that category to where he can easily be moved to the practice squad. So if he wants to stay, then he's a perfect practice squad guy.
This was a name. A lot of names already coming out on the cut list. Washington's made a few as well. Sony Michel. His brother's probably not making the team, but we'll get to wide receivers here in a little bit. Sony Michel was a name that I think surprised a few people. Would you take a flyer on him? I know you mentioned Peyton Barber, mostly as a joke. But is there any running back that gets cut? Or you feel confident with Williams and Patterson as kind of that fourth running back you pull in for emergency purposes?
Me, I am going out and I'm bringing everybody in. All these guys you say, should they give this guy a look? Should they kick the tires? You should do that with every single one of these guys that's on the waiver wire. And why not bring him in? If he comes in there and he's very impressive and he does everything and he's got the right attitude, all that stuff you're looking for, sure, why not? Absolutely. I mean, how do I know whether Sony Michel is better than Jonathan Williams at this point, today or tomorrow when they start bringing guys in? You don't really know. We just kind of know the names. That's what we do. But sure, I'd kick the tires on a guy who was a stud, an absolute stud in college, who's a Super Bowl champion. Is he a two-time champion? I mean, he won with the Rams last year.
I think because he won his rookie year with New England, right?
Yeah, and wasn't he on the Rams last year? I don't know. Maybe it was the year before. Whatever. He's a Super Bowl champion. We know that. So we know he has what it takes there, but it would be like his fourth team in 4 or 5 years or whatever. So he can't be that special. But you need guys. So bring him in.
Corey's a little worried about Gibson as running back 1 right now while we wait for B-Rob to come back. Is there any concern with that, with the seeing the holes, the fumbling the football?
I mean, B-Rob was basically in line to be the number 1, to be RB1 for a reason. So you're basically going to plan B. It's not a bad plan B based on performance. The guy scored 21 total touchdowns in 2 seasons. That's a pretty good plan B when your plan A gets hurt. So is he maybe as effective as a plan A that he would be at plan B? Probably not, but he's good enough and he has explosiveness. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So you're right. He was with the Rams last year. Command this, jumping in with that stat and saying hands down, Michel is better than any of the running backs that we're talking about as far as Williams or
New England doesn't think so. The Rams don't think so. The Dolphins don't think so. That's 3 teams that don't.
He's definitely been bounced around just a little bit, but
we'll see.
It's going to be interesting. I think that this coaching staff has shown that they like the guys that they already have in. And so I don't see them necessarily bringing in a veteran experience for running back. I think you're going to see some more of the younger guys if there was somebody that they thought might have some potential. But, last year, Patterson was one of the, or if not one of the only undrafted free agent that Washington brought in. So that's going to be the running back room. I feel like you're going to see a lot of people were kind of excited to see maybe Patterson back there while we're waiting for B-Rob. I think a lot of people were even more excited about Gibson, but I agree with John. You're not going to put Gibson back there to return kicks while he's your running back.
No, definitely not.
That's just
that changes the dynamic of the roster, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're going to maybe now you do Patterson because he plays that role, or maybe you do keep, as we go later on, a certain corner or somebody like that, or a wide receiver.
Yeah, Danny
because
Johnson has
the
that
roles have now
flex,
shifted. Yeah, so it's very fluid today, and there are decisions being made at Commanders Park that they didn't think that they had to make yesterday, that they were not planning on making. Those
Ron Rivera said that they were actually watching Brian Robinson tape when they got the news of the incident. So they were definitely working some of those late nights trying to cut this roster down to 53. That's what we're doing right now. If you like what you're hearing, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this show moving to the tight ends. Don't forget to put in any of your surprise cuts in the chat there as we continue. Let us know who your tight ends are going to be as we bring up our video from one of the content creators here with the Commanders. Who do we got for the tight end group?
Tight ends, we've got Parker Hamlet, or as you called him yesterday, Parker Hamilton it's Parker Hamlet from Sidelines, Washington. So he's got the tight ends. Let's see if you all agree with what he says or not, because there may be a surprise here.
What is going on, everybody? This is Parker Hamlet, host of the Sidelines Washington podcast for the Silent Sports Network. You can check us out on YouTube. Audio doesn't matter. Silent_WFT on Twitter. Easiest place to find us. But I'm here today to help Ref the District nail down their final 53. And man, it's been a doozy because this is a tough pool to pick from. I've been assigned tight end. Logan Thomas, obviously activated off the PUP list, isn't playing any preseason games, but he is building that chemistry with quarterback Carson Wentz. Whenever he comes back, who knows? But I do know he is tight end number one for this offense. That is our first tight end. Then this is where things get tricky. Cole Turner, the draft pick, very exciting stuff out of Nevada and coming in the league. Maybe not the best blocker, but as far as being an athlete, I don't know many more people that made more plays than him at training camp and OTAs. If you get this guy healthy, he is going to be a problem and a difference maker on this offense. So he is a lock for the roster as well. Then you go back 2 drafts ago, you get a guy like John Bates, who this coaching staff is very high on. Both these guys have practiced it this week. They are my top 3 locks at the position. This is where things get tricky because I've had Doc Walker on the Silence Washington podcast. We talked about it. He really likes what he sees out of our Armani Rogers. Then you have guys who played the position like Logan Paulson, who on the Big Douglas Show said, I think Curtis Hodges is the guy. He is the final piece to the puzzle at the tight end position. You had Eli Wolf come in and leave almost simultaneously. Then you had Kendall Blanton, who was a little bit of a role player for the Rams in their Super Bowl run last year. But as far as tight end is concerned, I got Logan Thomas, I got Cole Turner, I got John Bates, and I have Armani Rogers simply based off of all of the playing time he has gotten this preseason. So I got 4 tight ends making it for the Washington Commanders' final 53. Stoner, Trev, Nathan, everybody, thank you for the time. Obviously, like I said, subscribe to Silence Washington podcast, and we'll see how they affect my picks moving forward. But on to the next one.
All right. We appreciate Parker jumping in there. He hit his socials a couple of times, so you can check out sidelines here. 4 tight ends.
Yeah.
I like Armani Rogers. Okay. I just don't know that I like the 4 tight ends. I think that that's going to be a bit much. If they keep 4, I think that speaks to Logan Thomas's health. But, and then the 4th tight end, I mean, Gus Bus, he's taken Blanton over Armani Rogers. And I think that's probably a safer bet. You can stash Armani Rogers as he develops because he is switching positions. So Blanton is a guy that I think that if he falls off, he's going to end up on a roster somewhere.
Yeah. Well, if you follow this show, we talk about the tight ends a lot because the one time we got out to training camp, the tight ends were practicing right there in front of us. So we got a really good look. At that particular time, it was only Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, and Curtis Hodges. And at the time, Alex Armah was practicing with him, and Samus Reyes was there at that time as well. And there was no doubt in my mind anyway, with that up-close look, that Curtis Hodges, Cole Turner, and Armani Rogers are 3 above-average tight ends. And so it's very difficult to kind of say that they're only going to keep one of those on the 53-man roster. I actually agree that there's going to be 4 tight ends that they keep. And I don't know if it's going to be Armani Rogers because, like you said, Nathan, he's a guy who played quarterback just 1 year ago. But he has some talent. He's shown a lot of skills even in training camp at this level. So I think they stash him. So I think it's either going to be Curtis Hodges or Blanton. It's going to be one of those 2 guys that's going to take that 4th spot. I just think they are going to take 4th because of the uncertain full health of Thomas and Bates, by the way. Yeah, Bates did practice today, but he's not 100%. That's for sure. And Logan's not 100%. So this is one of the tougher ones to deal with. And hopefully they can stash some of these guys on the practice squad if they don't make the 53.
I love Doug's comment here. XQBs to run double pass trick plays. Yeah, that is something we've seen. Logan Thomas, yeah, he's done it for it. Maybe you can do it with Armani Rogers. One of the things I'll say is Rogers had the opportunity given to him over the last 2 preseason games, and I just don't know that I saw enough for him to have earned a spot over somebody again like Blanton, who has game tape on him.
Sure.
You can stash Rodgers. I don't see Rodgers being picked up. He's a developmental product. He undrafted free agent. He probably sticks with this team because we're the ones who are taking that chance and trying to develop him. Right. So likely sticks around here on the practice squad. Blanton, I'm taking over Hodges. Hodges' health is also one of those. He missed the last preseason game for health reasons. He's an undrafted free agent. And so to me, if you're going to keep a fourth, I'm going to go with Blanton over those two.
That's fair.
For those reasons. So.
And as Parker said there in his clip, that Logan Paulson on the Big Doug show said Curtis Hodges is that guy. Okay. He's going to be the best of the Armani Rodgers, Blanton, Hodges, Wolf, Reyes,
Blanton,
all those guys.
Yeah, Blanton wasn't on the team until very recently.
That's true.
Because of injury. So I don't know if Logan Paulson had that on there. So, but we saw Hodges up front. I mean, he definitely looks the part. He absolutely looks the part. So
Cole Turner, who we all know is a monster, right? Cole Turner did not look down on Curtis Hodges. Yeah. They were eye to eye. They were 2 really big dudes. And Armani Rodgers, not necessarily slight of stature either. Yeah. He's those 3 dudes are huge.
Some really nice large targets for Carson Wentz, who tends to favor his tight ends. Now, he hasn't had quite the wide receiver core that he has had since his whole career, right? This wide receiver core on paper is probably the best wide receiver group that he's had. Of course, you got the first 3 as a lock, but then it gets kind of interesting there at the end. Let us know who you think we're going to keep for wide receivers, as we're going to bring on somebody here for the wide receiver group. Who do we got, Stoner?
Yeah, we got Command This podcast with Steve, Dev, and Phil. I believe Steve is here in the chat watching right now.
Appreciate the love, Steve.
There may be a little bit of controversy with this one as well. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
What's going on? This is Command This. I'm your boy, Steve. That's Phil. And we got Dev. Hey, we're doing the top 53-man roster for the wide receivers for the Washington Commanders. So without further ado, I'll kick it off. Hey, first wide receiver is going to be Scary Terry. Just got that big contract in the offseason. He's making his 53. Dev.
Curtis Samuel, fastest guy on the team, kind of a Swiss Army knife for a receiver position. Can't wait to see us get him in open field.
Boom.
Jahan Dotson, Penn State product, first-round draft pick, a guy who's going to show that he's got those glue hands and that downfield speed to stretch the field.
All right. And the fourth wide receiver, these are not in any particular order, but I'm going Cam Sims. He did a lot in the preseason to show that he's still value add to this team. Caught that great touchdown from Taylor Heineke last week versus the Chiefs. 6'4", 6'5", big body wide receiver. He's making this 53 as a wide receiver on the Commanders. Phil.
De'Ami Brown will be the next one to make the roster. He is a pick by this coaching team. They're very high on him, and I think that he'll do well as a burner downfield as well, who can flourish with a stronger arm quarterback starting this season.
Dev, bring us home.
Last but not least, man, the sneaky athletic, cunning, excellent route running, hard working, working the slot, and your ex-girlfriend, Dax Milne.
Whoop, whoop. That's right.
Steal your girlfriend, and hopefully you steal some y'all.
Mr. Steal your girl, Dax Milne. Hey,
right.
Nathan, Trev, Stoner, thanks for having us. This was fun. As this is our second year in a row doing this. Love the tradition. There's your top 6 wide receivers. We think they're going 6. They're not going 7. They're not going 8. They're going 6. Lots of other holes to fill. So that's who we got. We appreciate you guys. This is Command This. Peace.
Appreciate the Command This team coming out here and joining us for that one. Make sure you check them out. Command This here on YouTube. Great group of guys. I love this list. This is the list that I have here.
Trev jumping in with the Cam Sims.
Trev's not here today because he had to work in the office. He called Cam Sims out, and Cam Sims followed Trev.
Yeah.
So he's waiting to see and clap back when he makes the team here. Yeah. I think this is the list. And we had some discussion after Diami's play against the Ravens. Maybe he's not the 5th wide receiver. Maybe he's the 6th wide receiver. But I do think that he's shown enough in the team. Some of the things that they talked about there with the Command This team, that he's drafted by them. They like him because he's a burner. He can create that space. So I personally think that this is a group that is accurate, very accurate. What do you think, Stoner?
Yeah, I would keep 6 as well, but there are a lot of people out there who think 7. And after Saturday night's performance, a lot of people think maybe Dyami Brown is on the bubble now. Maybe there's an Alex Erickson or one of those other guys, or a McGowan who might slip in there. And these guys made this video before the game, and I warned them. I said, are you sure you want to do it before the game? Because who knows what happens in the game could affect your decisions. And sure enough, Dyami had that terrible game. And I don't think it cost him a roster spot. I'm just saying that there are some people out there who think he's on the bubble. I don't think so. I think it's 6. But again, this whole thing with Brian Robinson could affect how this all works in terms of who you're going to have returning kicks, returning punts, and all this. So maybe now Alex Erickson could possibly make it as a 7th wide receiver, just so that he can handle.
Brian Robinson ends up on NFI,
right?
Who knows? Are you taking Erickson over that another running back? I mean, you're talking if he goes on NFI, the non-football injury list, right? Yep. So he's got to miss 4 games. He's not counting against the roster. You're going to have 3 running backs. You're taking a 7th wide receiver in that case.
I'm probably not. I'm not. I'm good with those 6. I don't think there's a guy that's teetering on that edge that really wants to get in at that 7th spot. So I'm not, but you never know. They might.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting. Last year, they brought in a kick returner specialist, right, who ended up winning over a lot of fans and played fairly well for the Burgundy and Gold last year. They bring in Erickson, and I think a lot of people kind of expected that same thing to happen, but Erickson kind of reminded me a little bit more of Humphreys rather than and why am I spacing on number 1 from last year? I can picture him drop DeAndre Carter. Right. So I think he reminds me a little bit more of Humphreys. Kind of
like
have the dynamic
Dev was saying.
Carter play.
Is that because he's a white slot receiver? Is that why the comparison is? That's what Dev was saying. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it myself.
Dax Milne is shifty. I've liked what I've seen from Dax Milne. I definitely think that it'll be pretty good.
But you can see right here in our chat, we have some people saying, that Erickson should be on the roster. Some people saying, no way Erickson should be anywhere near this roster spot. Dyami Brown should be here. Dyami Brown should not be on this team. All those things. So yeah, right here in our chat, you have that difference of opinion between fans.
Trev's got us up in the bar. Make sure that you hit him up in Lexington.
What up, Skybar?
Skybar, how's it going, Skybar? Would love to see you guys sometime. Make sure you take a picture of that for us, Trev. I agree with you, Gus Bus. If DeAndre Carter, if they wanted that specialist, they would have stuck with DeAndre Carter. It wasn't going to catch them. Now, Gus Bus is now asking, though, with DeAndre Carter, do you think he makes the roster this year?
I mean, if you just say that he does the exact same thing that he did last year, does he make this roster? He might make it over Dax Milne. I mean, he might.
I agree. I think he makes it over. I think he makes it over Dax Milne
because of that versatility, right? He's very dependable in the kickoff and the punt return, whereas Dax Milne, you're not 100% sure yet because he hasn't proved it on a consistent basis the way DeAndre Carter did. Yeah, you're probably right. He does make it as the 6th guy if he's here.
It would be a surprising cut to see Diami go. Just don't see it happening. We'll see, though. One of the most important position groups coming up right now, that's your offensive line. There's been a lot of turnover. They get jettisoned out their 2 guards, bring in 2 new guys. Those guys are injured. You see a lot of younger guys playing. Fan favorite. We know Gus Bus loves himself some Wes Schweitzer. But where is our O-line going, and who's helping us out with this?
All right, Bleeding Burgundy. In this particular one, it's John and Jesse. Keith is on vacation right now, so he wasn't a part of this particular video. But again, Bleeding Burgundy, you can find them anywhere. They do a weekly show. They're ramping it up to twice a week during football season.
Up their video too. Love to see it.
Yep. So this is John and Jesse from Bleeding Burgundy. They're going to tell us all about the offensive line, who they would have on the roster.
Hi, everybody. This is John, and welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast segment here on Ref the District. And we're going to be discussing the offensive line and who we think is going to make the team. I think several of them are pretty obvious. What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I guess. I
guess I should introduce my partner. Sorry, I guess I should introduce you. This is my partner, Jesse Martin, here on the show.
Good-looking one over here.
That's right, the hairy one. Our other friend, Keith Gray, he's off doing some god-awful ridiculous
He's
thing.
at a nudist beach right now.
I'm sure he is. He's probably enjoying himself a nice bubbly bottle of alcoholic air.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary thought. I don't know why I said that. But anyways, yes, look, we probably got 8 that are definite no matter what on this team. The question is, John, are we going to keep 9, 10, 11, dare I say 12 offensive linemen with our injury issues that goes on with this team? One thing about this, though, we have John Mascow. I think he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. Our offensive line has done great the past few years since he's been here. And kudos to him, man. He can work with pretty much anybody. So that's definitely a plus for this roster.
Yeah, and the thing to add on to that is that it hasn't been a situation where all of a sudden we haven't been struck with injuries. We've been hit with injuries all over that line, and he's managed to continue to patch it together and keep pieces moving and keep things in there. So, kudos to him. So we're just going to put a lot of hope on him. I think let's just get the obvious out of the way. The starting 5 is Leno, Norwell, Roulier. I guess Trey Turner, we're going to say. They signed him. They brought him in. So far, I think he put his uniform on the other day just to see if it fit. Sam Cosby. Those are our 5 going across the board.
Yeah, and then also we're going to add Schweitzer. I think, it's either going to be him or Turner at the other guard position. But Schweitzer he's a bull. He can play all interior spots in the line, so he's a definite on this team.
Yes, he can block a pickup truck. You've heard me say it before.
Absolutely. I guess then our other lock is Cornelius Lucas, our swing tackle. Good to have him back. I think he was out with the illness for a while, but he is back and he can play, man. He can come in a pinch. He started for us a couple of years ago all year long. He did great at left tackle, but he is a lock as well. And I guess Chris Paul is also a lock, our draft pick. We've been hearing good things about him all off season long. He's strong as an ox, and he could very well have some playing time this season. And I think right there, those are our 8 locks. Would you agree with that, John?
I would probably add Sadiq Charles into there as well, just because of his experience. Even though he hasn't had a whole lot of playing time, they've kept him on this roster for several years. They've used him in a pinch when they've needed to. I don't know how well he's performed. There's been times where I've watched him just get completely okey-doke, but do they cut bait on him, or are they going to keep him around one more year? What do you think?
I think that depends, man. I haven't seen anything out of Charles that when we first drafted him, everybody thought that we got a steal. I did. He played well at LSU. I just haven't seen enough from him that will warrant a lock of a roster spot. That's just me, though. I think he probably makes it, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, I would also agree. He's a question. The only reason that I would even put him in there as a possible is because he's been here so long. Obviously they must see something in him because he hasn't really shown it on the field at all. In fact, I think there's been times when he's really looked bad. But they keep him around, so maybe they expect that he's finally going to be back off of whatever injuries have been bothering him, and that he's finally going to start to progress. So I'm going to
9 right there.
What's that?
That's 9 right there. That's 9 if we include Charles.
All right, so you got to think about Keith Ismail as well, even though he hasn't really played all that well. You got Chase Roulier coming back off of a bad injury. You got to maybe
Larson's on the pup list. He's going to be on this team once he's healthy enough. Larson, he's done great in a backup role. We know what Schweitzer can play center too, but we'd rather have him at the guard spot. So when Larson comes available, he's going to be on this team. But for right now, we're not going to fill his roster spot. So Ismail, I think, is a good a good person to have on the team. That makes 10 right now.
You have to
put Ismail in there.
I mean, you have to. And I mean, perhaps if Ismail gets cut, they keep Charles because Charles can play guard and you can move Wes Martin over and play center in case Chase goes down. But we're not going to even say Chase goes down. I've now said Chase goes down 3 times, but we've cursed him. So that's my fault, everybody. If Chase goes down, my fault. Burgundy and gold, I'm sorry. My apologies. But all right, so I've got him right now at 10.
Yeah,
because you got to keep Ismail. I think, at least for now. Now, these guys that are back in the back there, of all of them, Aaron Montero, I think that they might like him because he came in a pinch and he was able to step in and play.
He did pretty well.
They may like Wes Martin. He's been here before. They just brought him back. Maybe they just brought him back to rubber hose the Jaguars, playbook out of him. Maybe that might be it. I think last night in the game, John Toth, I think, played himself right out of position. I do.
I agree too.
Yeah,
I agree too.
You're the center, man. You got to know the snap count. What's the matter with you? Alex Akingbulu. Akingbulu is a fun word to say. However, I don't know that they're going to say it on the day that they might say the word and say, "Come and get you." The coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook. But I think he's practice squad eligible. So I think that for sure we're going to see at least 1 or 2 of these guys go to practice squad.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, probably more.
Yeah, Willie Beavers. Your name just makes it. I want to keep this guy around. I just like this guy. I want to just to be able to say Willie Beavers, made the block, or Willie Beavers with the pancake, or something like that. But I think he's practice squad bound. So there's my 10. What about Nolan?
I think I agree with you too. Count them down while I go down the list one more time for the district. It's Leno, Cosme, Roulier, Norwell, Turner, Schweitzer, Lucas, Chris Paul, Charles, Keith Ismail. Is that 10? That's 10. What did I forget?
You got I don't know. I wasn't counting. I was just moving my finger
that's
around.
10. That's your 10 right there. That's your 10 right now. You can come check us out on the Bleeding Birdie podcast. We record on Tuesdays Mondays.
Mondays now. We're recording on Monday evenings. So we'll have it for you for your Tuesday ride in, so that you can stop listening to freaking Kevin Sheehan.
Yeah, there you go. And also, we will be moving to 2 episodes per week during the season. So we'll have our preview episode on Fridays, and then our ref the district their day of reckoning, our what the hell happened Mondays after the game. All
right. Now make sure this week. Let's see. Today is Sunday as we record this. We're going to record a show tomorrow evening. Make sure everybody gives us a listen because we are going to have a rival from the NFC East calling in to discuss where he finds and what he gets when he goes to the glory hole.
Oh my goodness! Thanks, fellas.
That's John and Jesse from the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. They're a great group of guys. Lots of fun that you can have with them. And I have not yet checked out the glory hole episode, but I'm gonna have to give that one a listen.
Well, they're probably recording right now, so you can listen to it tomorrow.
The 10 offensive linemen, I asked this in the chat to see where we were with how many would you keep?
Yeah.
We got Grayson saying 10 is way too much, and then Corey right after him saying 10 or 11. That's what we're going to keep.
I know how you can keep between 10 and 11, but 10
I'm going to keep guys. 10. I'm gonna keep 10, and I feel like this list is fairly accurate. I think if there's going to be one switch, it's going to be Sadiq Charles out and Wes Martin in.
Well, that's absolutely a possibility. So I I'm at 10 as well. And I think, if there are any changes, then Wes Martin for Sadiq Charles. We brought him back for a reason. I mean, he got cut, but you brought him back because you're familiar with him and you're probably pretty happy with what he can do in a backup role. Tyler Larson is going to start on the reserve injury list, so he's going to be out for at least 4 games. And as soon as those 4 games are up and he's healthy, Keith Ismail, he's gone. I don't know if he's practice squad. I think this is his 3rd year, so I mean, everyone's eligible for practice squad, but whether or not they want to use a practice squad spot for him, that's another story. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm in lockstep with these 10 that they put out there, and then what you said, possibly changing out Wes Martin for Sadiq Charles. I'd probably be okay with that. Somebody asked if Trey Turner played. He did not play.
No,
he did suit up.
He did suit up, not for the game, but he did. He did actually put on the pads for practice today.
Yes, he did.
Right, so he put on the practice today for pads for practice day, but did not suit up against the Ravens. You saw a lot of Chris Paul, and a lot of people were raving about his play. Now, that is against those 2nd and 3rd stringers that he's having a good game against, but you want him to shine against that talent so that way you can have confidence putting him in. Now, Trey Turner didn't suit up, and he's been battling injuries. How confident are you on that right side of the line here? Do you put in someone like Wes Schweitzer over Trey Turner, or do you think they're going to stick with Turner?
I mean, everybody tells me that Wes Schweitzer is the second coming of Joe DeLamielleure. I mean, nobody gets that reference. That's like from the 80s. But so why is he not starting? So that's what I say about Wes Schweitzer. If he's not starting over a guy like Trey Turner, then he can't be that great. But we'll see what happens on that right side.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit interesting, and we'll see what it is. Shout out to Steve and the Command This podcast. Thanks for the $5, the $4.99 donation. We always keep Super Chat up, but we don't like to push it. But those who do use that, we appreciate it. Much love showing the channel. We're trying to show a lot of our content creator friends some love today. Command This is definitely one of the ones that we enjoy having on and interacting with. Same with the Bleeding Burgundy. I think those guys did a great job with that offensive line group. That's going to be something. Gus Bus loves himself some Wes Schweitzer. He's Weapon X. Corey asked, what are the chances that they pick up an offensive line guy that's been cut from another team?
I would say way up there. There's I mean, not necessarily to come in and start or whatever, but picking up offensive linemen when guys get cut, it happens all the time. Just like somebody's going to pick up some of our offensive linemen that we cut. If you cut a Sadiq Charles is getting picked up by somebody.
Sure,
right?
That's fair. I mean, you look at Wes Martin's situation; he was cut and then immediately picked up by the Commanders. So that's fair. I don't necessarily rank it as high for them to pick up somebody. I think that they like this group, but if they're picking somebody up, I just don't see it replacing those 10 unless you're replacing Ishmael. So that's where we'll see. That's where I'm thinking as far as that's concerned. We're going to go from one side of the trenches to the other side of the trenches. We have the defensive line group coming up. Who's helping us out with this one, Stoner?
So this is going to be our guys from Declassified Washington podcast. This is Declassified is made up of Brian Hu, Ellie, and Eric. And Eric took the duties for this particular one. We had Brian on with us last week for our Day After Reckoning. So this is Declassified with the defensive line, and I got a problem with this.
Uh-oh.
Oh, what's up, everybody? This is Eric from the Commanders Declassified podcast at Declassified WFT on Twitter. And I'm helping out Ref the District this week with your final 53 projection. My job is to bring you the defensive line, and I'm going to do just that. Your projected opening day defensive line roster. Let's start with the defensive tackles. We know Jonathan Allen's making it. He's a Pro Bowler. He's one of the best players on the team, made the NFL Top 100. He's not going anywhere. He's our starting defensive tackle. Deron Payne, the other guy, going into the last year of his contract, he's looking to get paid. Look for Deron Payne to have an absolute monster year. He's definitely making this roster. Fidarian Mathis, the young buck they drafted out of Alabama in round 2 this year, he's an easy choice to make this roster. And I think a surprise on this roster may be David Bata. Primarily because I don't think they're going to go into the season with just 3 defensive tackles, and nobody else has really popped in preseason at that position. So I think David Bata has a chance to make this roster. At defensive end, of course, Montez Sweat. He's another guy looking to get paid, and he's going to have a huge year this season. James Smith-Williams going to take over while Chase Young is on that physically unable to perform list. He's your starter opposite Montez Sweat. And because Chase Young is on the pup, that's going to open up a roster spot for another guy as well. I think Casey Toohill makes it as a defensive end. He's played really well this preseason. A lot of reporters, a lot of coaches have mentioned him. We got to see him a little bit when we were out at OTAs and in preseason, and at the training camp practices we were able to attend. And yeah, he's done a really good job. I think he makes this team. Now, if we keep 9 or if we keep 8, that's the final question. There's 2 guys I think that have an equal shot at that last defensive line position. And that would be Daniel Wise and Shaka Toney. I think they end up keeping both. They squeeze out a roster spot elsewhere to keep both of these guys on the roster. But if it comes down and they have to make a decision, I think Shaka Toney makes the cut. Daniel Wise has been pretty good. He's got some playing time, but Shaka Toney just brings something a little bit different that the rest of the roster doesn't have at this position. Ron Rivera has mentioned several times throughout training camp about Shaka Toney's speed off the edge. He's got the nice bend. Now, he's a situational pass rusher for sure. I don't think he's an every down guy. He only weighs like 220 pounds. Well, maybe a little more than that, but you get my point. But I think he's the guy that's going to make it. But I honestly think we end up going with 9 defensive linemen, and we keep that extra defensive end, and Daniel Wise makes the team. William Bradley King is a practice squad candidate as well. Daniel Wise, if we have to trim the roster, he may end up on the practice squad. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he makes the team. So that's your starting defensive line heading into the 2022 season. Be sure to check us out on all your favorite podcatchers. We are Commanders Declassified Podcast. You can catch us on Twitter at DeclassifiedWFT, or myself, Eric, Etrod40 at Etrod42. You can see how often I'm on Twitter. And thanks for Rep the District to having us out, and we look forward to hearing from you. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate Eric joining us there from the Declassified Podcast. He did hit up his socials. Make sure you check them out. Great content, very smart. They do have the website as well, producing some articles. We had Brian on last week, and we've had LE on a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
You have a problem with this list, Stoner, so I'm just going to pump it right to you. What do you have? What's your problem with this list?
There's a gentleman by the name of F.A. Obata who's going to make this football team.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Doug is talking about right now as well. What about Obata?
It's exactly right, Doug. He is making this team. So that means one of these guys got to go, because I believe they're also going to keep 9 on here as well. And somebody mentioned it earlier. David Bata is on that international list.
Mm-hmm.
So he does not count against the 53. So he's exactly right. Grayson is exactly right that you can have 54 if David Bata is on this list. Okay. But I am putting, in addition to what's on here, I am putting F.A. Obata on this list, probably over Daniel Wise. Now, Daniel Wise has made some plays, but I think Obata is a better player at this point, and Daniel Wise can probably just go on the practice squad.
One of the names that I like this particular name, this guy, the way that he plays, but I will have to say, I think that this might be a surprise cut for a lot of people because we do like his play, and that's Shaka Toney.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that this one, he continually was playing with the 3s, right? So he wasn't even playing with the 2s. He's playing with the 3s. You see some of the excitement there. You see why he's on this team. He has this burst. He has the bend. Mm-hmm. What he's not doing is he's not keeping lane integrity, and he's just not, even though he has that speed and everything that you want to see, he's not getting to the quarterback. Some of that is his size. Ron's talked about potentially keeping him as a situational pass rusher, but if you're going to be kept on for that role, then you need to maintain your gap integrity, right? You need to not run circles around the QB, which is something that we were seeing with Sam Mills, and even Chase Young and Montez Sweat were guilty of. They're running these deep routes rather than crushing in and trying to take after the quarterback. So I would not be surprised to see Shaka Toney being the victim cut here rather than Daniel Wise. I think he's actually done enough to stay on this team, and Shaka Toney might be the one who's cut. Gus Bus, why not use Toney as a pure pass rusher? Why put him in the position to keep lane integrity? Strictly use him on 3rd and long. That's fine. You still have to keep the lane integrity. Look at how badly that granted, we're not going to face the Mahomes during the regular season, right? But there was a lot of times where our defensive ends were just going too far out and leaving this open hole for Patrick Mahomes, or a quarterback to be able to squeak out, and they're not in a position to make a play anymore. And so you don't want to see that. If you can, it's fine to keep him in as a positional pass rusher. Again, I like what I see from him, minus the fact that he takes these wide routes. He leaves these open gaps, and you can't have that because you're going to just get beat by these better quarterbacks. And maybe not even better quarterbacks, but even mobile quarterbacks, right? We're going to face Jalen Hurts 2 times this year. Do you really want to give him on a 3rd and 10 a wide open lane? No, you're not going to want to do that. So that's why I think Shaka Toney might be a surprise cut come tomorrow. It is actually great information with Bada being that international player, being a 54th player for the team, because I do think that they will like to stack up this roster in the trenches.
So what happens when Chase comes back? Who's gone off of this list?
Off of this particular list, I'm going to bring that list back up here just to look at it. I would say, you're probably losing, then you're probably losing Wise or Tuhill. It's really going to come down to who's been showing up during the time that Chase is out. We're probably not going to see Chase until week 7. He's on the pup, so he's of course missing the 4. Then he needs a week of practice. There's a short week in week 6. So realistically looking at week 7. So who's played well in those first 6 games enough to keep the roster spot?
Yeah. And sometimes an injury takes care of that decision for you. There may be a guy that needs to sit because of injury and makes that decision easy. So we'll see what happens. But one of these guys, and everybody seems to like all these guys, even adding Obata to that list. If you end up keeping 10 or whatever, somebody's got to get cut when Chase Young comes back. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this kind of plays out.
One of the cuts that happened today was a young man from the cornerback group, and we gave a little preview of this one. This is our friend Corey, who's going to give us the cornerback groups. Let's hear it from him, though. Who does he have the Commanders keeping on this back group here?
Okay, I'll go to cornerback. I had
sorry, you do have linebackers. I'm the one who skipped it. Linebackers. You can do linebackers.
That's the old Google Home app.
You could do linebackers. I'm sorry. We'll get to Corey in a little bit. Let's do linebackers as planned.
Okay.
Who's helping us out with linebackers?
Linebackers is the Burgundy Zone. So we've got Kyle and Hall from the Burgundy Zone who are going to tell us who they believe our linebacker crew is.
Everybody's favorite position group.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now, the linebackers. Let us know who you want to keep, as Burgundy Zone lets us know who they are going to keep here on our 53-man roster.
What's up, Rep the District? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone.
And this is Hall, repping the Burgundy Zone as well.
And we are doing the 53-man projection project. And we are been selected to choose the linebackers. And so the number of linebackers I think are going to – this is a very tricky situation for the Commanders because, we've talked a lot about their base defense is said to be a 4-3, but we think it's more like a 4-2-5. Where it's only 2 linebackers on the field a lot of the times and more DBs. So that kind of makes it more flexible for Washington in the DB room than linebackers. But with that being said, Hall, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis are your starting Mike and Will linebackers in this defense. Who do you think is going to be behind them?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, those guys are definitely the starters. Like you said, not a lot of depth only because of the defense, the type of defense that they're running. So obviously they re-signed David Mayo, brought him back early in the offseason. He's going to be the third guy. And the fourth guy, who do you have as your fourth guy?
Is the Khalil Hudson, I think,
Hudson,
is the fourth. But I think this is the tricky point because right now I have them only keeping 4 linebackers on the roster. But you and I were talking that maybe we should keep that 5th spot open just in case there's somebody who gets cut from another team that they could pluck in a veteran and put in as a depth piece later down the line. But I liked Milo Eifler, what I saw out of him last night against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not sure if he could be that 5th spot. What do you feel about that 5th spot?
Yeah, went back and watched. I didn't watch the game yesterday. Went back and watched a little bit of the highlights. He was definitely a guy that I'm not going to say flash, but you saw his number flying around the field a little bit. But I also heard Coach after the game talking about how they're going to look for a veteran, or they might possibly look for a veteran guy once other teams cut their rosters down. They might, if they like a guy, they say they might pluck him off the waivers. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the 4 we just named, and maybe a 5th guy if they like someone they see, or maybe Khalil Hudson maybe gets cut off of there and they add another veteran guy as well to make it the 4th linebacker. But yeah, Eifler, I think that he's a bubble guy. He's probably gonna not make the roster.
Yeah, and I would be willing to bet that if they were to keep Eifler, that he would be a sort of bubble guy, that if they went down the road of bringing back Landon Collins as that Buffalo nickel, as an extra linebacker to bring in, because I think Benjamin St. Juste playing in the game last night against the Ravens was very telling about how they feel about that nickel, Buffalo nickel spot at the moment. And I feel like they're still looking to change around a little bit. So if we swapped out Milo Eifler with Landon Collins at some point, I wouldn't be mad at that. I would love the depth at linebacker at that point. I would feel much better about going into the season. So for me, I had them picking 4 linebackers with a possible 5th option, depending on how the roster breakdown and if they need it in other places. But I would not be surprised if that 5th linebacker is somebody that's not on the roster at the moment. What do you feel?
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you. I think they keep the 4 that we named, and that 5th guy, possibly a veteran that gets cut from another of the 31 other teams out there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, Rep the District. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. You can follow the Burgundy Zone on Twitter, on YouTube, all your streaming platforms, and iTunes and app platforms that for all your podcasting needs. The Burgundy Zone is there. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
Thank you so much, Rep the District. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
All right. Thank you, Kyle and Hall from the Burgundy Zone there. Keeping just the 4 linebackers. And realistically, this is the weakest group, right? Objectively speaking, this has to be the weakest group they have. Is there any problem that you have with the names that they've selected out of the grouping that we have to pick from?
No, I if you limit me to out of the group that we have to choose from that are in camp, these are probably the 4 guys. But I believe now where they said that they think maybe the 5th, they might bring in a 5th linebacker from off the street or whatever instead of Milo Eifler, somebody like that. I think their 4th guy is going to be somebody they bring off the street. Khalil Hudson has been on the squad. I think this is his 3rd year. Might even be his 4th year. I can't even remember.
He's going into his 4th year because I don't think he was drafted from this administration.
Yeah, I don't think he deserves. His play does not deserve to be on the 53-man roster. So I think they're going to end up finding somebody. There's linebackers getting cut all over the place already that we've seen that could possibly be in here. So, yeah, I mean, he might make it originally, but I think come game 1, I don't think he's going to be on this roster. That's kind of my hot take.
I think that's fairly accurate. I mean, this isn't a group that really inspires you to see some good play. Cole Holcomb has been solid for the team, a tackling machine. Jamin Davis is starting to come into his own. Hopefully that continues to develop and see some of the reasons why they took him at 19 overall. But then you have David Mayo, Miracle Whip, as Trev likes to call him. No, Khalil Hudson, I thought this was kind of that guy who could potentially grow into that Buffalo nickel spot, kind of be Landon Collins-esque as far as just down there and filling holes. Just not seeing it. right? Just not seeing that ability. And
Yeah.
I think that if this team does bring Landon Collins back, I don't think that it's going to take a linebacker spot. I think that they will still list him as a safety and just play him up closer to the box. One of the things that they talked about, Kyle specifically mentioned, was that this isn't a 4-3 defense as much as it's a 4-2-5. And so that's where I think that a guy like Landon Collins is going to be one of those in the 5 that you're bringing in, rather than being one of the 2 linebackers. I just don't see him being next to Holcomb or next to Davis or Mayo. He's going to be, one of those 5 cornerbacks, one of the back end guys for the team.
Totally agree.
Well, a lot of people are also agreeing that we're going to bring in some assistance there for this linebacker group. I do like Milo, but he's going to hit the practice squad. He's not somebody. I think maybe I like him because of how hilarious it was on Sunday Night Football, just to have name after name after name, and then just get the picture of Milo Eifert up there. But he has been kind of playing a little bit better. Maybe he takes Khalil Hudson's spot. I just don't know that he's done enough to really unseat somebody who has a veteran presence. So, but let's move on to those cornerbacks. Like I said, we gave a sneak peek. This is coming from Corey on the Warpath here, giving us our cornerbacks as we're closing in on the 53-man count. We're at 42 by my count. So how close are we getting to 53 right now? And how bad is this cornerback group after those top 3 guys? Coming here from Corey.
What's up, everybody? It's Corey Sanchez 405 from On the Warpath, back again this year to help with Ref the District's 53-man roster prediction. And thank you, fellas, for not setting me up this time like I was Marion Barry and the FBI was running a sting. I got cornerbacks instead of linebackers this year. And for the most part, it's pretty much a layup when you think about the first 3 guys, and we'll dive into it. It gets a little hazy at the bottom end, but we'll figure that out as we go. And first of all, we're going to start out with William Jackson the third PI. And no, it's not private investigator, it's pass interference. We saw it last year. Hopefully he will be better if we actually play a man corner in man coverage. Yes, let's do this for Willie Jackson the third. With a name like that, hey, can't keep on getting beat. And then, of course, the pride of Hokey Chokey Land himself, number 29, Kendall Fuller. I like to call him Creamer because he's half and half what I put in my coffee, right? Because it always seems like he has a good half of a season. If you think about 2020, he had a great beginning after he came off injury. Great beginning of that season, kind of tailed off towards the back end of it. Last year, he struggled early on, but got better as the season went on. So he aged like wine instead of coffee creamer. You don't really want coffee creamer aging right there. You have bad stomach. And then, of course, everybody loves Crown Royal, the Canadian whiskey himself, Benjamin St. Just. It's going to be the Nickelback this year. And, of course, Nickelback, Canadian band, Canadian cornerback. Let's make it work. Somebody call Chad Kroger and company, but he will be your number 3 guy right there. And then it gets a little foggy. And I think about at number 4, it's corn. Corn is awesome. Well, that little boy thinks. I don't think this corn is, but it is the pride of the Miami Hurricanes and the former deity of the Aztec people. It is Corn Elder. He's a Ron Rivera guy. He was in Carolina. They brought him up here last year. Think he didn't do anything besides get poked in the eye that will hurt his chances. And then you look at the back end of it. I think Danny Johnson, although he did get cooked on the outside against the Ravens, I think he'll still make the team because he does have that value at the kickoff returner, and that will bode well for him going for it because he gives it that position flex. And then wrapping it up, I think just because he's a draft pick here, it's Christian Holmes, number 6, is the 6th cornerback, and I think you'll see him not that much, but still, I like him there. And that is what I have for our cornerbacks for the Washington Commanders. 6 guys going into the room, and hopefully they will play well. And like we always know, there could be some changes there. There could be a surprise cut. But I think those first three, the bottom three, a little bit of question mark. But hey, back to you guys. Appreciate it. As always, when I say on my channel, love, peace, and hell, and keep that same energy. I'm out.
Corey is an absolute blast, an absolute gem. Appreciate him coming on here. Make sure you check out his channel, On the Warpath. Absolute delight. Yeah, Grayson, EP, Corey, all giving some love there for Corey. Love to see it. On the Warpath. Check them out. 6 cornerbacks agree with this assessment. First 3, I feel pretty comfortable with. Bottom 3, I think we start to find ourselves questioning what is going to happen this year. You know, is there going to be communication issues, or do they have that together? Danny Johnson absolutely just getting embarrassed against the Ravens here in the 3rd preseason game, making me really wonder, is he going to make this roster? Stoner, where do you stand with the cornerbacks here for the Washington Commanders?
I mean, if he doesn't make the roster, who does ahead of him? So this might be another one of those positions to where you see guys coming in off the waiver wire. And I will say this, that we have no idea where they're drafting next year, what position, obviously, until the season plays out. But I don't care where they're drafting. They're drafting a cornerback with that first pick. That's a lot right now. I mean, they have to, because that's where they're hurting the most. Those first 3 guys are good. Okay, they're not world beaters. They're not Pro Bowlers. But they're dependable. They're going to get beat, and we're all going to scream and yell that they suck because they got beat. But, you know, even the Pro Bowl cornerbacks get beat on occasion. You just hope that they can limit it to not so much. Maybe their safeties can help them out. But, yeah, if right now, presently constructed, this is the same 6 guys I would have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, like you said, there's not much they can do there. Stephen Parker being a casualty today. A lot of people thought maybe he had a chance to make this roster. Not going to be the case. Maybe they'll stick him on practice squad. If they do bring somebody in from another team, then you're likely going to have Christian Holmes probably moving on to the practice squad as well. He's a 7th round rookie. You can easily stash him there, let him develop. We'll see. You know, the Corn Elder is a guy that they brought in last year. We had McTire, who was a guy they brought in last year. A lot of people liked his play. We talked with his dad, liked his play as well. You know, so there is probably some value to be had from a person who's getting cut from one of the other 31 teams, and they'll move off of these. Don't fall in love with anybody. You know, you know, the people's corners out there right now. Jimmy Moreland's out there. Fabian Moreau. These guys are probably not coming back to the Burgundy and Gold. I would be surprised. You know, they brought back Wes Martin. I just don't see them bringing back either one of those. What do you think, Stoner? I know you kind of talked about it yesterday on yesterday's Day After Reckoning, but why not bring those guys back to Washington if our group is this bad?
Well, I mean, because those guys were 4th, 5th, 6th guys at best themselves, and they've bounced around team to team to team again for a reason. They can't even make a 6th cornerback on other teams. So why all of a sudden are they going to come over here and play really well? Can they be a 6th guy or whatever? Yeah, but again, you don't want to see that 6th guy, right? You want William Jackson, Benjamin St-Juste. Well, let's just say they play the 4-2-5 and they play Benjamin St-Juste every time as the 5th defensive back, right? You want William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St-Juste playing 99% of the plays. You don't want to see those other guys. Yep. So hopefully they stay healthy and they stay productive enough to where you don't see Corn Elder, Danny Johnson, Christian Holmes, or whomever ends up replacing them.
Yeah, and you have Grayson talking about that as well. He said, you know, it's the same as the linebackers. As long as they're healthy, those top ones are healthy, it's not really that big of a travesty. I would like to see some depth. So hopefully we'll find somebody worth having there. We got first string in the house, which is convenient.
Yeah, good timing.
Great timing there from Toothpick and joining us, because he is about to bring us the safety group. Bring it home for us, Toothpick. We've got 4 spots open on my list here. So if you go over that, we're going to have to do some cutting somewhere.
Well, you had it right before. You said it was 42 before they did the corners, right?
Yeah.
So now it's 48.
I said 48.
Yeah,
oh, sorry, you're right. 5. We do have 5. Yeah.
We have 5, although again,
Bada doesn't count against the 53.
Got 6. So we got 6 spots available. Let's see
where we go.
First string wants to
make sure I put an
here.
asterisk there against the DL.
And get ready because it's going to be over quick.
What's good? First String Podcast. We have the safety position. We have 6 safeties on the roster right now. All 6 are safe in my humble opinion. We have Percy Butler, Cam Curl, Farrad Gardner, Derek Forrester, Bobby McCain, and Jeremy Reeves. I don't see any cuts here coming. Get well soon, Brian Robinson.
In and out. My man was
in
quick. And out. 6 though. That's how that he's confident we're keeping 6, including a guy that I had to do a double take there with Farrad Gardner.
Yeah. I'm glad Toothpick is here so that I can roast him in front of him rather than kind of he has to hear about it later on. I think he's insane for thinking that Farrad Gardner is a lock for this team. They're not keeping 6, in my opinion. They're only keeping 5. I'll be honest. I had to look after he gave this video. I had to look up Farrad Gardner. I had no clue who he was. That's probably more on me than it is on Farrad Gardner or anybody else, because obviously other people know who he is. But I mean, he is not making this roster. Stephen Parker didn't make the roster, and he popped more than Farrad Gardner did anyway. So, but I don't think they're keeping 6. I think they're only keeping 5. And those other 5 guys that he has on there, I think they do make the roster.
Yeah, I am going to agree with you here. I think they keep 5. Jeremy Reeves was one of the ones that I said was going to possibly be that surprise to make the team. This guy has tried really hard over the years, which is a little bit of a big step for him because we actually talked about him potentially being cut after he made that big hit and had the fine and all that kind of stuff. So I think, though, he's done enough to show that he can be on the 53-man roster. And now that we're at 54 with Gardner, I mean, it's a quick cut to 53 with Gardner being cut. Which means Rodgers is a safe pick for tight end 4 out of the groups that we were given.
Yes.
So that's without Bada, though, right? That's without.
What do you mean that's without? That's with Bada.
That's with the Bada, which is what I mean is, so we're actually at 52, so we can actually add in somebody.
Wait, who's your 52? Who's your other guy that you cut off of this?
Well, you're saying because we said Bada is not counting against the 53,
right?
And then Gardner is cut, so that brings us down to 52.
Okay, so we have one spot.
We get one spot.
That's right. We have one spot available, and I'm putting F.A. Obata on the defensive line.
Okay,
out of
I agree
all
with
the
that.
guys,
I think that's
really
who
I'm
move.
putting. That's who you're putting as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good move. I think that he is going to make it. I think that they like that there. It is possible, Corey, that they do pick up another safety. There's going to be a lot of movement tomorrow. Stoner mentioned this at the beginning. The 53-man roster that we see tomorrow is not going to be the 53-man roster for week 1. Okay, right. There will be some changes being made. But the initial 53-man roster, we gave it to you here today with the help of our friends. It was pretty exciting. Appreciate all of them coming out. Toothpick, thanks for giving us a good laugh there with Gardner, saying that he's going to make it on special teams. I mean, if you're keeping guys like Danny Johnson on the roster, I don't think you need a Gardner. I think that you're good to go with who you have there. Grayson, to answer your question, we don't do anything specific with Virginia Tech or UVA. We do keep it mostly to those DC sports, the big guns, but we do talk a lot of sports on our flagship program. That'll be Wednesdays, 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you liked the content today, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit up all these others for the 53-man roster. In fact, Sonny, I see that you got it up there in the back. Let's go ahead and throw this up here. Make sure you check these guys out. You know, we're all one big content creation family. We like doing this because, you know, we're big believers and everybody can bring each other up. We all eat. So you got the Big Douglas Show. You got Sidelines, Rambling with Rio, On the Warpath, the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast, Burgundy Zone, Command This, First String Podcast, DMV, Sports 3, and Washington Football Team Declassified. All good stuff. And honestly, we even have more than that. These are just the ones that we invited on for this particular video. We appreciate their assistance on this. We appreciate you jumping in the comment section. John, thanks for joining us today. I know it was your first time. Grayson, Corey, Pick, EP in the house, Doug, everybody out there, we appreciate you. And until next time,
what's that?
Be a fan.